I burst into Bastian's apartment, Scully clutched tightly in my arms. The moment I laid eyes on him, I thrust the squirming feline into his chest. "Here's your furball back, Ham. I'm done playing cat-sitter for a lying, two-faced YouTuber." Bastian stumbled backward, wincing as he caught Scully. I noticed he was favoring his left leg, a slight limp in his step.
"Amalia, I can explain."
"Oh, really?" I cut him off, jabbing my index finger against his chest. "Explain what? How you've been spreading lies about the Voynich Manuscript? How you've betrayed everything we've worked for?" Bastian set Scully down and turned to face me, his expression a mix of defiance and something else I couldn't quite read.
"I told you, Amalia, it's all a hoax. The Voynich Manuscript, the lost civilization, all of it. I was just trying to protect you from getting caught up in a wild goose chase."
I scoffed, shaking my head in disbelief. "Protect me? By lying to me? By going behind my back and making those videos? You've got a funny way of showing you care, Ham." Bastian's eyes flashed with anger, and he took a step closer to me.
"You don't understand, Amalia. There are things going on here that you don't know about."
I laughed bitterly. "Oh, spare me the cryptic bullshit, Bastian. If there's something going on, just tell me. Or have you forgotten what it means to be partners? Who were those guys? Did they offer you money to spread lies?" Bastian's jaw clenched, and for a moment I thought he might actually come clean. But then he shook his head, his voice rising in volume.
"I stand by what I said in my video. The Voynich Manuscript is a hoax, and anyone who believes otherwise is delusional. You are delusional."
I flinched at his words, feeling as if he'd slapped me. But as I studied his face, I noticed something odd. His eyes were wide, almost bulging, and his gestures were exaggerated, as if he were on stage performing for an invisible audience. "Why are you shouting?" I asked, my voice low and suspicious. "And what's with the dramatic hand-waving? You're acting like a bad actor in a high school play." Bastian's expression shifted, and for a split second I saw a flicker of fear in his eyes. I narrowed my eyes, studying his face. Something was off. Bastian's words were too emphatic, his gestures too exaggerated. It was as if he was putting on a performance, trying to convey a message he couldn't say outright. Suddenly, a chill ran down my spine. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up, and I had the distinct feeling that we were being watched. I glanced around the apartment, half expecting to see hidden cameras or listening devices. Without warning, I grabbed Bastian's hand. "Come on, we're going on a little research trip. I'm going to prove to you once and for all that the bathing illustrations in the Voynich Manuscript have nothing to do with Catamosto's herbal." I had to get him out of that flat. Bastian protested weakly as I dragged him out of the apartment, leaving a confused Scully behind. He limped along beside me, struggling to keep up as I hailed a cab. Once we were inside the taxi, Bastian turned to me, his brow furrowed.
"Where are we going, Rosie?"
I scanned him up and down, taking in his disheveled appearance and the way he kept glancing nervously at his phone. A thought struck me. What if he was wired? What if someone was listening in on our every word? I decided to keep our destination a secret, simply directing the driver to Brooklyn using gestures and half-words. As we wound our way through the city streets, I felt a mix of suspicion and concern for Bastian. What had he gotten himself into? Half an hour later, we arrived at a nondescript building in a quiet neighborhood. I paid the driver and led Bastian inside, ignoring his confused protests. The interior was warm and humid, the air heavy with the scent of eucalyptus and steam. I had brought us to a bathhouse, a place where we could talk freely without fear of being overheard. We made our separate ways to the changing rooms and then met at the sauna. There, I stared at the towel around Bastian's waist and commanded, "Strip!" My tone left no room for argument. Bastian's eyes widened, and for a moment I thought he might refuse. But then a smirk played at the corners of his mouth.
"Wow, Rosie, if you wanted to see me naked, all you had to do was ask."
I fought back a blush. "Don't flatter yourself, Ham. I just need to make sure you're not wired." Bastian chuckled and dropped his towel, his movements slow and deliberate.
"All that matters is still down there,"
he said with a goofy grin. I tried not to stare, my eyes quickly scanning his skin, glistening in the low light. I noticed a bandage wrapped around his left thigh, covering the spot where he'd been shot. A pang of guilt shot through me, but I pushed it aside. When Bastian finally wrapped his towel around his waist again, I noticed something else. A glint of metal around his neck. It was the medal, the one he'd bought as a symbol of his love for me. My breath caught in my throat. "Why are you wearing that?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Is this another one of your mind games?" Bastian's expression softened, and he reached up to touch the medal.
I never took it off, Rosie. Not even after everything that's happened between us.
I stared at him, searching his face for any sign of deception. But all I saw was sincerity and a flicker of something else. Fear.
They threatened to kill you. They said if I didn't discredit the manuscript and your research, if I didn't make those videos, they'd end you.
My heart skipped a beat, and I felt a chill run through me despite the heat of the bathhouse. Who? Who threatened me? Bastian shook his head, glancing around as if he expected someone to be listening in.
I don't know. Bad guys in dark suits. The FBI, maybe? But they're watching us, Rosie. Our homes, our phones, our computers. All under surveillance. We're not safe.
I let out a shaky breath, trying to process what he was telling me. If what Bastian was saying was true, then we were in even more danger than I'd realized. The people who wanted to suppress the truth about the Voynich Manuscript were willing to go to any lengths to keep their secrets hidden. I stared at Bastian, my eyes searching his. I hope you're telling the truth, Ham, because if you're not... Bastian looked at me, his expression a mix of hurt and disbelief.
How could you doubt it, Rosie? After everything we've been through, you really think I'd betray you like that?
I glanced down at his bandaged leg, guilt washing over me. I'm sorry you got shot. I never meant for you to get hurt. He shrugged, a lopsided grin spreading across his face.
It's all right, Rosie, but you know, I'd feel a lot better if you kissed me.
I ignored his flirtatious remark. This is serious, Ham. If I don't come up with credible evidence to support my claims about the Voynich Manuscript, I'm going to get fired tomorrow. My editor's already breathing down my neck. Bastian's expression sobered, and he nodded.
I know, Rosie, but we have to be careful. There are eyes everywhere, and we don't know who we can trust.
I remembered the strange letter from the old-timer hamster, and the mention of the Voynich.Ninja forum. I might have some leads to chase, I said slowly, looking at Bastian. I received a letter from someone claiming to be one of your longtime followers. They mentioned a forum called Voynich.Ninja, where scholars and enthusiasts discuss the manuscript. But we can't access it from our homes or offices. The FBI is probably monitoring everything. Bastian's eyes lit up with understanding.
An internet cafe, somewhere we can access the forum without being traced.
I nodded, a plan forming in my mind. And we should bring Regina along. She knows more about the Voynich manuscript than anyone else we know. Her knowledge could be invaluable. Let's get out of here before we turn into prunes. As we made our way out of the sauna, Bastian leaned in close, his breath hot against my ear.
You know, Rosie, this isn't the first time we've been this hot and sweaty together.
I felt a blush creep up my neck at the memories, but I refused to let him see how much his words affected me. Then he flashed an innocent smile and said,
Remember that stakeout in the middle of summer when the air conditioning broke in the car?
Good times, I said dryly. Now let's focus on the task at hand, shall we? We quickly got dressed and left the bathhouse, the cool early afternoon air a stark contrast to the steamy heat inside. As we flagged down another taxi, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, we could unravel this mystery together and come out the other side stronger than ever. Or maybe I was heading straight into the lion's den. Only time would tell, but one thing was certain. I wasn't going to back down without a fight.